Hello, my friend. I have a special invitation for you. I have a new, potent, concentrated group coaching program called Crucible. We begin on April 10th. You can go check out timewitchery.com/crucible, and I'm going to tell you all about it at the end of the show. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Welcome to Mind Witchery. I'm your host, Natalie Miller, and I'm so glad you're here. Hello, my love. I have such a fun idea. That is, I am recording a little mini series for you, a succession of episodes about expanding our capacities. This idea, expanding capacities, is something that I heard about years ago, I don't know, on someone else's podcast. I really can't even remember where it was now. And I loved the concept of it, that here I am going through my human life and I have this much capacity for focus, or that much capacity for risk, or this much capacity for responsibility, or that much capacity for visibility. Like, this is how much I got. And what I want to do is to expand that. So it's not necessarily that I am becoming more focused or visible or whatever. It is that I am able to, should I choose. I just loved that idea. And it's something that I have kind of semi-consciously been working on this year for my own self. I say semi-consciously because I did set the intention, but then I sort of forgot about it. And now here we are. It is the fall of 2022, and I cannot believe how much I'm doing and how easily, and what size of chances I'm taking and bets I'm making on myself, and how trustingly. And I want this for you. I want to help you also to expand your capacity to live on purpose. And so that is what these next many episodes are about, expanding our capacities. And we'll start today with a foundational capacity to expand. Your capacity for change. This is foundational because in order to live on purpose, meaning to live in a way that is aligning with our values and is orienting toward our desires, not living in a way where we are rolling with the punches and just constantly reacting to what's around us, but rather in a way that we are co-creating our reality, co-creating actively and consciously and purposefully, rather than co-creating in a passive kind of life is happening to me sort of way. So if we want to live on purpose, it helps immensely to evolve our relationship with change. All right, so here is the spell. This is actually one of the first spells I ever found for myself. Here it is. Everything is always changing, and so am I. Also, you can flip that into I am always changing, and so is everything else. So that may not sound immediately like groundbreaking or earth-shattering to you. Maybe like, yeah, which I get. But our mammalian, still evolving human selves do not love change. I think we like the idea of change or the fantasy of change, but the actuality of change is, for a couple of reasons, undesirable to us. So, for one, change takes more energy and specifically more brain power. And our mammalian selves do not like that, right? So here's an example that helps me understand this. If you are walking or driving to your regular grocery store, you're just going to get groceries where you always go to get groceries. You don't have to pay very much attention at all to the route. You've traveled it enough, it's been consistent enough that you know it. You know where you're going to turn, you know how you're going to get there. And so on the way to your local grocery, you might very easily be able to listen to a podcast or talk on the phone, hands-free, of course. You might be even thinking about a work email or thinking about a household issue. You don't really have to concentrate on the way because you know it. You've consistently gone that way for a long time. It does not take very much energy. But if you're driving to a grocery for the first time in a town that's unfamiliar, you probably won't be able to talk on the phone or listen to a podcast or work out a problem in your head. You'll be paying close attention to the turns and the directions. And what is it? I saw a meme the other day that was like, hold on, I have to turn down the music so I can see better. But it is kind of like that, right? Like it takes more energy. And so we expend more and more concentrated energy on the same task. So in that kind of very basic energetic accounting, the familiar takes less energy to navigate than the unfamiliar. However, our sweet human mammalian selves do not take into account how much energy it takes to navigate an undesirable situation, like a relationship that just isn't working anymore, or a job that you have outgrown. Situations that go against our values, or situations in which we don't feel free to do as we please, or situations that don't evolve with us, that aren't evolving in the same direction that we ourselves are evolving. All of those, even if familiar, take an enormous amount of energy to navigate. And this is where it's important to remind ourselves that those situations, the job, the relationship, they are not the same now as they were in the beginning. And you yourself are not the same now as you were in the beginning. because everything is always changing, and so are you. And you are always changing, and so is everything else. Now, when we shift from fantasizing about a change, like, oh, wouldn't it be amazing if I just left this relationship? What would I do? Where would I go? Who else might be out there? That kind of dreaming and fantasizing about change, for many, but not all of us, is pretty easy to do. But when we begin to get more serious about actually making the change, leaving the unfulfilling relationship, for example, that consistency-loving part of ourselves will serve up plate after plate of fear. But what if you end up alone? What if you never find someone else? What if you won't be able to support yourself? What if you get sick and no one will take care of you and you die alone? What if there is not a person in this world who makes you happy? In other words, the consistency-loving part of us basically says, look at all of these worst-case scenarios. Yeah? And P.S., for that kind of what-if thinking, if that really resonated for you, finish this episode and then go listen to episode 34, which is a spell to stop catastrophizing, which is a lovely companion to this piece today. All right, so your mind might do a similar thing if you are thinking about leaving a job that you've really outgrown. There's a thing you've been doing for money and you don't want to do it anymore. Well, what if I can't make any money the other way? What if I can't find another job? What if my new job is just as bad as my old job? What if my new boss is even worse than my current boss? What if I try to go out on my own and I fail? What if I end up with crushing debt and no prospects and a hole in my resume and nowhere to live and nothing to eat? It's a quick, slippery slope to the very worst case scenario. And again, that's the consistency-loving, energy-efficient part of our mind that is saying, whoa, change? Very dangerous. And yet, again, everything is always changing. The job has changed. The company is not what you thought it was, or the offer worked for a while, but now it doesn't. The job and I have changed in opposing directions. Or I'm always changing. I've changed and I don't fit in this same relationship that I've had. The relationship has changed. I've changed. We've diverged. It's not working. It's not complementary anymore. Change is always happening. Everything is always changing. I'm always changing. You're always changing. She and he and they are always changing. And the consistency-loving part of our brain isn't acknowledging that. It's almost as if that drive to the grocery store, like now there are enormous potholes in that road, and the street lights no longer work, and the stop sign, someone ran it over, so you have to be really careful at the intersection so you don't get smashed. And yeah, you know that route to the store, but it takes an enormous amount of energy for you to travel it because it's changed and not in your favor. Yeah? Something important to understand about expanding our capacity for change, for initiating change, for evolving on purpose in the direction we want to go, not in a reactive way, but in a proactive way, is this. And hold on to your hat for this one, my love, because it's huge. In these situations where we've changed, the situation has changed, and it's no longer working, we are already living the worst case scenario. So here's what I mean. If I'm in a relationship, a romantic relationship that is not working anymore, and I don't want to leave it because I'm afraid I'm going to end up alone, the reality is I'm already alone. I'm alone inside the relationship. I am already living a version of the worst case scenario. It's happening right now. I'm living it. Let's look at the job example. I'll give you a very personal example on this front because I was in a job that just was not working anymore. My values and the values of the company had diverged. My role was evolving in a direction that I did not want to go. And at the time, I was actually going through so much personal change, like you name the front, family, health. I mean, you name the front. I was going through a lot of change there, and I did not want to proactively change my work situation because that consistency loving part of myself was saying, well, at least it's a steady paycheck. And yeah, the leaders are really problematic, but you kind of know how to deal with them. And obviously you can survive it. And yeah, you're doing the work of 3 people, but you can, it's doable. So despite what my consistency lover was saying to me, the reality was I felt completely powerless in that position. I was flooded with negative emotions. Like really, I was experiencing wave after wave of exhaustion and frustration and criticism and annoyance and sadness and all of the kinds of emotions that come to say, hey, something's wrong, something's not working here. And so while my consistency lover was saying, listen, the worst case scenario is that you won't have a job, meaning you won't have the power to make money. But what my consistency lover didn't see is that my power to make money was eroding by the day in this position. My confidence, my health, my self-respect, it was eroding by the day as I stayed weathering wave after wave of negativity. I was already living the worst case scenario. I did not have the power to make money. I did not have the means to support myself. When we are living in that place where things have changed, or we ourselves have changed, or all of it has changed, but we're hanging on, or we are pretending, or we are avoiding really stepping full foot into our power to change on purpose. When we are not in our power, that is the worst case scenario. It really is. And I know that the mind says, no paycheck is the worst case scenario. But I will tell you right now that paychecks, those come and go. Paychecks are not as guaranteed as your mind would have you believe. Some of my entrepreneurial clients may have something that they do for money or some offer that they sell that they really don't like. And they're like, oh, but at least it brings in money. However, if you aren't into it anymore, I know it's bringing in less and less money as the days and weeks and months go by. I know that it costs you energetically more and more to deliver it as the days and weeks and months go by. Everything is always changing, and so are you. You are always changing, and so is everything else. And sometimes that change is a withering. It's an atrophy. Sometimes that change is a congestion. It's a frustrating. So yes, this thing that I've had for a long time, this relationship, this job, this offer, it's changed. And for us to expand our capacity for change, to really step into our power to affect change, our power to change on purpose, again, in that proactive way, where it all begins is simply being willing to see and acknowledge and affirm the changes that we are seeing and feeling. All right. So that is your first capacity expanding spell. Expanding our capacity for change. Affirming the reality that everything is always changing. Change is the only constant. And happily, we ourselves get to change. We get to change. We get to evolve as our situations evolve, as we discover, wow, that's not what I thought it would be, or, this is going a direction I don't prefer. We get to step in and we get to make changes too. Of course, the more real those changes get, the closer we get to affecting them, to actually making them, the more the consistency lever in us will pump the brakes with all of the potential worst case scenarios. And yet, if you are in the place where changes have happened that have been disempowering for you, if you are not able to be in your power, to live on purpose, to exist at choice, to do what you really want, then you are already living a version of the worst case scenario. So that little collection of thoughts is what's necessary to help you expand your capacity for change. So I invite you to apply these ideas wherever it is in your life that you're feeling stuck or frustrated or a lot of dread or despair or worry. Basically, wherever it is that you have forgotten your power. Wherever that is, I invite you to apply these ideas. Everything's always changing, and so am I. I am always changing, and so is everything else. And this is a version of the worst case scenario. Apparently, I can handle the worst case scenario. So why not go for something better? All right, my love, stay tuned for a next capacity expanding spell. I hope you are as excited about this series as I am. Thank you so much for listening. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to this episode of Mind Witchery. To catch all the magic I'm offering, please subscribe to the show. Or if you want a little bit of weekly witchiness in your inbox, sign up for my Sunday letter at mindwitchery.com. If today's episode made you think of a friend or loved one, your sister, your neighbor, please tell them about it. We need more magic makers in this troubled world. Like all good things, this podcast is co-created by stellar people. Our music is by fabulous DJ, artist, and producer Shammy D. Our gorgeous art is by the sorcerers at New Moon Creative. Mind Witchery is produced in conjunction with Particulate Media, K.O. Myers, executive producer. And I am Natalie Miller. Till next time. Hello. As promised, here is a little bit of info about my new group coaching program called Crucible. You know what a crucible is? A crucible is a container in which transformation occurs. It's a strong container, basically like where you melt down metals so that you can make new things. You can make alloys. And my program is called Crucible because it is designed to give you a space where you can summon the courage, the inspiration, the momentum that you need to finally take action on, to finally manifest that thing that you have been wanting to do. And what is that thing? I don't know. That thing might be a new offer if you are an entrepreneur. That thing might be the idea for the book that's been swirling around in your head. It might be an outline for that book. It might be a whole short story. That thing might be a job description for the assistant that you've been wanting to hire. That thing might be your own podcast. Whatever that thing is that you keep thinking, oh, someday I'd really love to make this happen. Crucible says, let's do it now and let's do it together. So Crucible offers 7 weeks of group coaching. Crucible offers insight into how it is exactly that I take an idea and make it real. Right? Now, this is not about me kind of imposing my method onto you, but it is about sparking your own creativity and insisting on a self-honoring way of creating. Yeah? Crucible is about community with other people who are also making it happen. And I cannot even begin to put into words how valuable that is. How much of a difference it makes to be surrounded by other people who are expanding and growing into what's next. Crucible is in large measure about helping you to claim the time and energy that you need to create what's next. And so we'll use my anti-planner, Time Witchery, to do that. We will use co-working sessions that are hosted by Flow Club. I'm very excited about that part in particular. So Crucible is not assuming that you have the willpower and courage and time and energy to make this thing happen. In fact, Crucible says, oh yeah, let's give you a place to generate that, to generate all that you need in order to manifest what it is that you want next. So you are invited. You can go check out Crucible at timewitchery.com/crucible. We begin on April 10th. We go through April and most of May. And then we get to take off for the summer, having finally taken action on that thing that you've been toying with, flirting with, wondering about, dreaming about for so long. So again, more details at timewitchery.com/crucible. I super hope you will meet me inside.